Greetings Guardians, my name is Byfear. In this series of videos I'm talking about the world of Destiny and the creatures, characters and factions that inhabit it. In this moment of stillness, we can stop and see the world for the garden that it is, with the hope that one day it shall bloom once more. I too am noble, O Lord of Wolves. My mother was of starlight, and my father was the dark. These words were the last thing that the former Kell of the House of Wolves would hear before he perished, alongside half of his entire house and his fleet. But the Kell was not the first figure of power, or the first impediment to rulership that Mara Sov, Queen of the Awoken, had confronted. Conflict defined her rule from its very first moment. The starlight and darkness that created her was present due to a clash between the forces of light and darkness back in the Sol system during the collapse. These titanic paracausal forces created a singularity into which the colony ship carrying Mara would fall. Of all the crew of the Yang Lewei, or Exodus Green as it is known, Mara would be the first to enter the singularity, followed swiftly by her brother, whose name was Oldwin before it was Aldrin, before it was the Crow. Mara was able to shape the reality within the singularity to her liking, and so it was that she created the Distributary and remade her people aboard the Yang Lewei into the Awoken. For uncounted millions of years they would grow and build and learn. For many of those years, Mara would plan for the future. She knew that one day she would have to return to Sol, and so she planned to lead all those that would follow her in a diaspora out of the singularity that had granted the Awoken immortality, knowledge, and the potential of 1,000 universes. But not before she found the greatest love of her life. There are many tales of the legendary warrior Sjur Eido, greatest protector and huntress of the Awoken people. Perhaps the one that is least well known is the tale of how the two first met, and of how Sjur was so struck when she saw Mara's beauty for the first time that she abandoned her original purpose, her mission to kill the future queen. Years later, the two would leave the Distributary together, and would return to the Sol system proper, only to be greeted by all its conflicts and all its madness. Then again, Mara's departure and that of the people she brought with her was not a seamless thing. Even as Mara's great diaspora left the Distributary, there were those who had chosen to stay that made violent but unsuccessful attempts to interdict them. Come hell or high water, Mara's lover would fight by her side regardless of adversity, and would earn the title of Queen's Wrath. In her time of service, she defeated pirates, befriended dragons, and became one of the few people in the system of Sol to have slain the mighty Lord Shaxx. Granted, he didn't exactly fight back when she sent an arrow through his heart, and it didn't stop Shaxx from dubbing her a Tempest. The arrow that stopped the heart of Lord Shaxx was something typical of Sjur. Her skill with a bow was unmatched, and as a huntress who had spent untold eons in the Distributary, protecting Mara or prowling the wildlands, it is hard not to see why this was the case. It was the start of a beautiful friendship between two skilled warriors. Such skills would serve Sjur Eido well as she protected the reef, but they would be a blight upon her conscience at the dawn and close of the Great Hunt. It all began when Guardians beheld the Ahamkara gathering in great numbers on Venus. They did not understand what they saw. Together, hundreds of the dragons were answering the call of the Nine. The will of the inner orbits was made manifest. It appropriately was transfiguration of their planetary flesh, and the dark matter that made up their persons. The wish dragons were using their power to change the surface of Venus, associated with 2, and the Guardians saw this as dangerous. The Ahamkara had always presented a risk, but now that risk no longer restricted itself to foolish individuals or Guardians who wished upon something strange and unfortunately twisted. If the Ahamkara were transforming entire worlds, then the risk was to the system at large. Perhaps the decision to hunt them down was difficult for those that made it. Perhaps it was not. In the end, it makes no difference, for the Great Hunt was called, and it was declared that the Ahamkara should be made extinct. And Mara quietly obliged. Her Techians delivered weapons to the Guardians, and she made no effort to protect the Ahamkara at large. All the while, she made moves to hold Riven captive. Her intention was that Riven would be the last Ahamkara in Sol. This is one of Mara's greatest sins, for she desired a unique source of power, and the last wish dragon in existence would be exactly that. This meant that those dragons who had indwelled within the Dreaming City had to be hunted and slaughtered as well. It was not unprecedented for the Ahamkara to be hunted down, especially not by the Queen's wrath, Sjur Eido. When Eao betrayed the Awoken's secrets to the Warlocks and the Tower, it was Sjur Eido who was sent to end him. Now only his bones remain as a testament to his folly. To the Guardians, the hunt had concluded, but the destruction of the Ahamkara did not happen all at once. As the years went on and Riven's prison was constructed, the course of action that Sjur Eido would be compelled to take became even more clear. It would be her duty to hunt down the dragons that remained, including 2 of her oldest friends, old friends that still resided within the Dreaming City. Seemingly years later, during the height of the Reef Wars, Sjur Eido informed the Queen that she was leaving for a quick expedition. Of course, she did not return. Knowing that she had to strike down her friends, the Dyad dragons Hugin and Munin, Sjur Eido was filled with a great sadness as she watched them take flight for the last time. Her wish ender found its mark all the same. But in those last moments, she made a choice that may well have changed her fate. Hugin and Munin did not blame her for the actions she had to commit. They comforted her in her choiceless fate, and reminded her of a truly haunting truth. The truth that there are no stories that do not end. Sjur contemplated the loss of these great beasts and how terrible it was for them to die in a dismal moment of surrender. But then, she had a realization. She faced the dragons and asked them to give her a fight to remember. Hugin and Munin seem aware of the importance of this moment and appeared to have tapped into exactly what she was manifesting. Desire, the source of sustenance for dragons, the engine of wish magic, and the anthem Anatheme. Understanding this moment, this final choice, this last request for a fight to remember, is of the utmost importance for you to understand should you wish to know of what comes next. It is important because Sjur Eido and the dragons might have made the choice, but it appears that it was the Nine who planned for these actions all along, placing them upon such a stage as a troupe places its actors. This all appears to have been part of the plan of the Nine. Sjur Eido was betrayed, but swore an oath to rise again and undo her death. Her body died, her soul survived. The Nine had a part in this as well, and upon her mortal body, they left a token for the Queen of the Reef to find. That token left an indelible mark upon Mara's mind, and created an unbreakable association between Sjur Eido's death and the will of the Nine. The token was a strange coin. Wereguilt for a lover and warrior defeated in battle, and a reminder of who it was that had truly taken her lover. Years later, after Mara had defeated Oryx and survived death, after Mara commanded that Riven be ended, and for her Techians to seal away the dragon's heart, after the queen had returned to her people and cleansed Savathun of her blighted worm, after having faced the witness by our side in the pale heart of the traveller. It is after these many great stories that Mara's mind turned to the matters of the heart and the one that she had lost. It all started with grief. Grief that has no origin point save for the moment of Sjur Eido's death. The grief one feels when searching for a lost lover, one who you never got to bury. Long ago, when she constructed her throne world of Eleusinia, Mara had built a statue commemorating her lover. Perhaps the pain had begun to dull. Maybe there was some closure, even if she still eternally chased revenge. But Mara's heart and the pain of her loss was sharpened to a point and given new focus, thanks to visions from a confusingly similarly named agent of the Nine, the one called Sjur. And so Mara gathered her second wrath and her new coven of witches. She descended down into the ascendant plane to gaze once more upon the shattered throne. And it is there, within the sea of screams and the ascendant planes and the weft and weave of the ley lines, that Mara went hunting for the Nine. Petra leads Austin, Sjari, and Elia through the halls of Eleusinia, guiding the Techians through taken corruption and across perilous rafters spanning an unending depth below, until reaching a tall marble carving of a woman. There, Mara Sov awaits them. Petra and the Techians bow in the presence of their queen. An agent of the Nine reached into your dreams as they did in mine, offering... Mara Sov's voice washes over the party before pausing in an uncharacteristic tremble. Commune with me under the gaze of Sjur's effigy. Let us see if their offer carries true or false hope. The three do as they are told. Days pass as they scour Sol, until a faint image of a tall huntress catches Sjari's notice in a distant, dark fold of space, standing beside Sjur of the Nine. Mara pounces at the opportunity, casting the party towards it. But when they arrive, only Sjur of the Nine, backed by the great mass of Saturn looming behind him, is present. "What game is this, messenger?" Mara asks. "Daughters of light and dark who come seeking, Queen Regent of the Dead Reef, the Nine have heard of your plight and offer a bargain." Austin begins to step forward, but Mara grips her shoulder. Austin freezes, stunned that her queen would deign to touch her, before processing the danger of Sjur's proposition. "Have you finally come to claim your responsibility, tool?" Mara's voice is serrated with restrained bloodlust. "I am only a messenger. 6 of the 9 offers an end to your pain. Sjur Eido remains, lost in time." "It is easy," Mara says, "to claim such a thing. Lost in time is a terribly convenient state." She is fishing, her stoicism she keeps by bare inches. "This is how it was," Sjur says, and he tells her. "The 9 arranged for an anointing of a weapon, creation through battle. They placed their pieces, and they reached out. Hugin and Munin she fought, and strove bravely, a last dance between old comrades. And on the precipice of victory, the 9 touched that space. 1, 2, 3. Hugin and Moonin and Sjur Eido, all in that moment overcome by the 9's reach. Together faltered, drew, loosed, fell. And as Sjur fell, perhaps it was a wish. Or was it? Whatever her final thoughts were, they feasted as they fell still for the last time. And Sjur is sent onward to the place where she began. Is that enough? It is a message carried a long way, scripted to play on the heart. Mara holds perfectly still. It is truth enough. She puts composure on like a cloak. Sjur continues. You will not assist the city on Earth. Adhere to this offer, and your search will find purchase. Deny, and your search will never end. Is the future so unclear when your specks of dust are unaligned in their motives? Mara smirks. You would not make an offer I could refuse, and so I do refuse. Your offer has given me the hope I need, and the knowledge to peer into time, not place. Why do you think I permitted your entrance into the snare of our dreams? What punishment awaits your failure? It should be noted that this was not a plan of the 9 at large by the looks of things. It appears that 6 is being used to offer Mara a bargain. 6 does not seek for Mara to assist the lost city, and has planned to draw her away so that she might chase her heart's desire instead. The truth of Sjur's whereabouts were clear to Mara from the moment she realized that she had returned to the place where she began. Sjur Eido is back in the Distributary, the original homeland of the Awoken that Mara had forged long ago. But Mara was now torn between love and duty. She might have put on a stoic face against 6 and the original emissary of the 9, but she was left to face the choice of leaving her people or going to find Sjur Eido, her lover. She would speak with her brother about this decision, and he ensured that they would find a paladin, a warrior, a crusader within the system of Sol that would carry out her will and retrieve that which was lost. In the end, when she spoke to us near the close of stillness, she told us of her predicament and of the choice that she had to make, a choice that haunted her. A choice that she had not truly decided on just yet, but one which would define her future, and perhaps the future of all those that relied upon her, in both Sol and the Distributary.
I have prized open reality and bargained secrets from the 9, and the truth I have learned is the curse they have meant it to be. There is something I want, something I must have. It cannot be easily reached. Should I pursue it, I have no guarantee of return. And I could not leave the Awoken of the Reef again. And yet, how could I send another to win back my heart's desire? What of you, Guardian? You achieved the impossible without pause. Of all the brave knights to my hand, you stand closest to the concept, that which may exist at the end of existence. You might return. You might win me success. But it should be me. I want it, and you have a universe on a knife's edge to think of. I talk in circles. I cannot think. This too may be the 9's plan. No. I will find my way. And if you do not see me ere long, know then what I have chosen. there, in a river long distant from its source, Sjur Eido lives.
Whenever Mara makes her choice, and whatever that choice might be, it seems that an old and powerful legend may be ready to return to us at some time in the future. Do know that we will be sent into great peril should we take up Mara's quest. If we are to become her knight-errant, we should not ride out in the hopes of finding some damsel in some tower. Instead, we go to exfiltrate one of the greatest warriors of Sol from a snare built of dark matter and wish magic. She is one greater perhaps even than those that we have fought and faced. She has survived the Ahamkara, the Aphelion, the Fallen, the Distributary. And she now will be fighting perhaps a battle to remember. If this is so, then maybe she is in the midst of a pitched war within the Distributary itself. Maybe the war is what she will return to if we are successful in our mission. We may also have to involve ourselves with the dragons Hugin and Munin, who too might have some influence over Sjur's fate, and maybe by some twisting of the Nine's influence and wish magic itself, might still linger on to influence this story. Now that the gauntlet has been thrown down to us, it seems inevitable that we should serve Mara's cause one way or another, whether by following her into the original homeland of the Awoken, or by entering alone so that we might find her heart's desire. These choices matter, but they do not change the incredible truth. Sjur Eido, the first Queen's wrath, still lives on. And that is something at least that should bring us all some comfort. There are many within the system whose fates have been ensnared by the Nine. There are equally as many whose destinies have been twisted by the wish dragons themselves. Wish magic is a third way, a power that is not truly aligned to light or darkness, whose origins are unknown and unexplained, whose abilities have defeated gods and kings and queens and nightmares. Their story once carried on to a terminus with the death of Riven of 1,000 Voices, the last known Ahamkara. But thanks to the selfless sacrifice of her mate Taranis, a new brood of dragons still lies in wait, one last clutch of dragons ready to be released into the world and feast upon the sweetest flesh that is reality, O murderer mine. And then there are other rumors, the tales dismissed by the Cryptarchy of 7 survivors out somewhere in the system. Regardless of the truth of rumor, regardless of the future and its fate, the dragons are what we shall speak of next. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and leave a like and leave your own thoughts down below in the comments section. If you want more lore from universes near and far, go ahead and hit subscribe and the bell next to subscribe. Of course, if you want more lore content and to support me, you can do so by signing up for Patreon. Signing up is possible at a free tier, but if you want your name in the credits, you need to jump in and join at the Disciple tier, as those on screen now have done. But, as per usual, know that your viewership as always has been quite enough for me. And that in the meantime, my name is Bife. Ad Astra et Ultra. I'll see you, Starside.